Hey everybody, it's Aaron here. We traditionally do this here at Mortified. We're going to do a quick recap episode highlighting some of our favorite scenes and bits from the past 100, or no, I guess episodes 100 through 150. But yeah, this is a Mortified tradition. We're kind of taking it easy this week. Next week we'll talk about, I believe, Amina El-Sarafi by Shannon Chakrabarty, who did the David trilogy. And then, me and Leila are going to take a bit of a hiatus. Has nothing to do with anything, wrong with the podcast. It's just me and Leila have a very busy next couple of months. I'm moving and going to be, settling into a new job. And Leila's going to be trying to ship a whole video game. So Mortified will, after August, we'll be on hiatus for about 2 months, and then we be back, and it'll be a great time. But until then, enjoy the best of the last 50 episodes. I think they're really great. It's got a good mix of bits and like great analysis that I thought we did. So enjoy. Layla.
Avatar watch. Avatar
Oh
watch.
no! It can't be! It's been so soon!
I will fly with you.
Hi, welcome everybody to welcome to Avatar Watch, our segment within our podcast where we talk about James Cameron's Avatar, namely Way of the Water, which is an impending threat looming over us.
Yeah, it is impending and it is a threat.
Hey, so let's talk about what we found out this week, which is that Sigourney Weaver, who died in the original 2009 James Cameron Avatar, she died. Sigourney Weaver, who is a woman of some age, is coming back aboard the Avatar franchise to play Neytiri and Jake Sully's teenage daughter, Kiri.
Teen daughter! Listen, I love Sigourney Weaver. I think she's a remarkable actress.
Remarkable.
This is a choice.
This is a choice. And she basically, in an interview, she said, well, I still remember what it's like to feel awkward and out of place, so I'm just grateful to James Cameron for giving me the opportunity to explore this side of my acting.
How old do you think Sigourney Weaver is?
She's in her 60s, 70s. Early 70s, 73.
She is 72 years old.
Oh! Look at me with the guessing.
Listen, we love that for Miss Weaver. We love that she does get to explore her, the times when she's felt uncomfortable. It is a choice to make her play a biracial alien teen.
Yes, named Kiri. And I saw some speculation online that because she has eyebrows like all the human-made Na'vi do, she's like some sort of, I don't know, human-made. She's their adoptive daughter. I think that's very important to mention.
Oh, so she's not genetically related to.
She's not fake Na'vi plus real Na'vi hybrid.
Ah, damn it. All right. There's got to be one of them in there. I can't. The speculation is going to kill me until we get the weird reveal in 2 months that's like, okay, so Jake is sterile. Straight up.
Oh my god. This movie's literally... the worst part was I saw this... Jenny Nicholson retweeted this, and it just... All she tweeted was, she what? And I was like, what? And I clicked into it, and it was that article, and then Aaron didn't respond to me for 30 minutes. I lost my mind.
Oh my god. Yeah, no. Anyway, Avatar, Way of Water, coming this December. We are going to find a way to watch that somehow, and you all will never stop hearing about it ever again. Okay, now let's talk about Kuroko's basketball. Here we get into the character, the characters with most character, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think Kuroko is maybe my favorite out of all of the characters we've seen today because of the way he's implemented. It is very different from a standard anime protagonist.
I have never seen a sports anime protagonist be implemented as the side character.
That's exactly it, right? Because, like, Kuroko, right, we talked about it. His whole thing is that he is so shitty and bad at basketball that nobody notices he's there, and so he can sneak up on you. That's why they call him the Phantom.
He's really good at passing. That's his whole... He only passes.
His special talent is passing really good.
Passing really good and being really quiet.
Tsubasa is doing full bicycle kicks by episode 2. Kuroko's just like, whew, go get him, Kagami.
Kuroko, I think my favorite move that he does is he, like, takes a shot and purposefully misses it so that Kagami can, like, pick it up and dunk it. Incroyable.
Yeah, no, his special ability is assist.
If we compare him to our good boy from Haikyuu, right? Because he's so good at volleyball. He tries so hard and works so hard at volleyball. He's so good. Everyone's like, wow, damn, that shorty's really good. He can really fly. It is the complete opposite reaction from every character about Kuroko, because everyone's like, wow, he's really fucking terrible at basketball, actually. Yes. I'm shocked we're winning because of him.
Yeah, we'll talk about the coach, but the coach is like, wow, this kid's already peaked and his stats are terrible. But yeah, incredible. But like, he is 100% a side character. He is implemented in a way that, like, he's always the straight man to Kagami, who is the big, athletic American, who is reacting to him. Like, it's always Kagami who is coming into the shot, and then Kuroko just appearing there, and Kagami being like, what the fuck, dude? You gotta make more noise.
Right, and the big change in episode 3... The big change in episode 3 is Kagami dragging Kuroko into the shot.
He's like, get over here, idiot. Yeah, it could really, truly be a Sixth Sense thing where he is just dead the whole time, and he's just been Kagami's special friend.
I would believe it. Honestly, like, the whole first episode and a half, it's completely dubious as to whether this child is a ghost or not.
It's so funny. It really, because, like, when he signs up for the team, Coach Ida's like, I didn't know that somebody, I would have thought that one of the, members of the Generation of Miracles, I would have talked to them, but his signature just appeared. The lights started flickering. I don't understand.
And then he's, all the other 5 members got interviewed for a basketball magazine, and all the teammates are, like, flipping through it. They're like, where's Kuroko's interview? And they're like, oh, Kuroko, they didn't interview you? He's like, no, they did. They just forgot to put it in.
They did. He's like the most wet cat of a man. He's great. I love him. He's my favorite protagonist out of all of these. He rules.
Absolutely. The opposite of wet dog, however, is our buddy Kagami.
Literally Taiga. Taiga Kagami.
Yep, literally a tiger.
You can tell he's from America because... And sometimes in the English dub, his voice actor sounds like Joey Wheeler.
Hey, you!
Hey, Kuroko! You trying to play... Okay. When he is... This is where I show Layla my thing, and you're going to have to edit this in post, Layla.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
But I'm going to show you my favorite thing that he says when Kuroko is challenging him to a game of the good old basketball.
Shit. That kid still has me on edge. Steal? So high. Nothing can stop Kagami now. You douche.
That delivery of "you douche" is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
The Rock's back.
Yeah, I mean, he's big and rockier than ever. So you did have a note in your when you were taking notes on this this film. I do want you to just explain yourself to me and our audience. So do you remember what the note was? Because I remember.
Fucked The Rock. Like,
okay.
I'm sorry. It's true. I was looking at him. It was. What did he say? He was talking to Gina Carrero, and he said, with an ass like that and brains, woman, soon I'm going to be out of a job. And I was like, ooh, that's the kind of misogyny that I'd fuck, is the problem.
Layla, we've had this conversation so many times. Your
worked.
standards for men are so bad.
It worked on me. I don't know what to tell. Listen!
You have to cut this out of this episode now. This episode's ruined because somebody's going to be like, oh, yes, finally. If I just neg someone enough, it'll work.
No,
just like The Rock.
You have to be shaped like The Rock.
That's true.
There's only one Rock.
That's true. So the conceit of this film is that like the Shaw's team is basically the evil versions of the family, and the version of The Rock they have is just like a huge mountain of a man. And like it really does put in perspective like how few people can, physically compare to Dwayne Johnson.
Right, it's as Tash had him in his phone, Samoan Thor, it's
Yes.
incredible. Okay,
100%.
so here's the line I will draw for our listeners. The Rock in this movie, Hobbs has a vibe of being kind of an old school guy who thinks that being a misogynist is a compliment. And with that intent, he's still fuckable. You can't neg a bitch. But if you're trying to compliment her and you're just doing it wrong and you look like The Rock... Listen, my standards are exceptionally low, but, like, exceptions can be made. I'm not... like, fuck, marry, kill The Rock, Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, marry Paul Walker, fuck The Rock, kill Vin Diesel, like... That's just
wow. Okay, brutal. Sorry, Vin. The thing, I get hung up on the mechanics of making love with The Rock. Right? I don't think that he would be very gentle. His name is literally The Rock.
We need to move on. There are some things you don't need to know about me. Move on.
Okay,
move on.
Anyway. Is nice to see, especially because of the ways in which this franchise has historically been like, we're going to put women at peril. Rip to Elena, notably, from the last Fast movie we watched. So it is kind of nice to watch Hattie just like kind of progress the plot all on her own while her brother and her, maybe love interest kind of fumble along beside her.
Her brother-in-law, okay? Like, listen, this movie, they give The Rock and Hattie some like standalone kind of like pseudo-romantic scenes. They don't read as effectively as the Hobbs and Shaw banter. They just don't.
No, that's the issue, right? This is the problem of all, media that has two boys and a girl, but the media is really about the two boys. Is that because you focus on the two boys? This is your essay. This is your wrote it gay. Again, you deserve a fucking Nobel Prize for you wrote it gay because of the amount of times that I keep referencing it. Because I think it is so true that when you don't flesh out your woman character enough, you make it about a love interest. You make the rivals gay for each other.
Because you introduce the dynamic of, or the idea of romance, right? Like if you just made all three of them like buddy cops, I think it would read differently, right? You'd have less to read into. But because they introduced the idea of romance, I'm like, no, you've put it on the brains now. And that's why there's 500,000 words on AO3 about these two very large men.
Is Hobbs & Shaw secretly the biggest queer blockbuster of 2019?
I do think so, yes.
Based on the sheer amount of fan fiction that you found for this film, I think you might be onto something there. Can you explain more about that line of thinking?
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, internet people, the denizens of AO3, they don't need a ton of reason to write fan fiction. I do think they need some reason to get into the weeds like they have with Hobbs and Shaw. So here's some sexy statistics for you. There are a total of 238 fics on archiveofourown.org for the pairing of Hobbs and Shaw. The one with the most likes, kudos, has 1,008 kudos, which isn't like... It's a lot, but it's not record-breaking. 462 comments, pretty fucking dense. That's the one that's been the most commented on. The one that really piqued my interest is the one that has an explicit rating and is sitting pretty at 500,000 words and is also not over.
569,000 words, closer to 570. Like, let me be clear. So I am like somebody who is a professional writer. I've been trying to be writing for publication since 2018. I've written maybe 250,000 words. Maybe 300,000. This person, in their Hobbs and Shaw gay porn fanfic, has eclipsed me in their writing output by about 40%.
And this fic includes, I will say, original characters of this author's creation, which is
excellent.
Extra effort they've put in. And also, it's tagged, "What have I done? I'm going to hell. Threesome, foursome, fivesome, moresome," which is a level of mental planning for sex scenes that I don't think I could achieve, and I live in spreadsheets for a living.
I was going to say, you're going to need some sort of, like, pipeline planning system to arrange that logistics around that fivesome. That's too many people's schedules to juggle.
And then 49 of the 238 total fics are porn. They might have some plot, but they involve explicit sexual encounters. That's, by the way, not counting the ones rated mature, who could also have some pretty steamy sexual encounters. That's just explicit works. And then there's one I want to highlight. Well, there's a couple I want to highlight, but basically, there is this trend I've noticed in Hobbs and Shaw fanfiction of the ABO dynamic, the alpha, beta, omega dynamic. And, listen, y'all do you. I do just think it's very funny because they do involve things like nodding and heat cycles. You know, typical fanfic shit. If you don't know ABO dynamics, yeah, it's a fascinating little subsection of literature, and you should at least know about it, just for funsies and just to be a more involved denizen of the internet.
Now, you know who is hot?
No, I don't.
Let's talk about the OG, the original, the one and only Onceler.
Aaron, have you ever seen the movie The Lorax?
No.
Okay, you have. I have.
Nope. Okay, you have, really?
I have. I've seen. Yeah, it was
Under
like on
what
TV.
conditions? Who made you watch The Lorax?
It was like back when I was living with my mom, and like we had satellite TV, and it was just on, and there was nothing else to watch.
Sure.
And I just, I liked animated movies now, and I still do. And I was like, okay, I'll watch The Lorax. I thought it was fine. I didn't find it particularly memorable, and I certainly didn't think Twink Monopoly was sexy.
Here's the thing about the Onceler. So Sarah Zed did a 40-minute video about the history of the Onceler and Tumblr Sexy Men and like why the Onceler fandom became the way that it was. And I do find I'm a history nerd. I like understanding the ways in which events in the past shape events in the future and why people acted the way they did in the past. And I think that the history of the Onceler is fascinating. And I just really, really find it tickles me in a weird way that the Onceler is just the archetypical Tumblr sexy man, because like he's just a guy.
He's just a guy. He's like a little evil, but like in a capitalist way, which makes it weirder still.
You're right. I mean, he is just like the Monopoly man, but like in his 20s.
Yeah, it's bonkers. And like, I don't know. Like I'm like really stretching the imagination right now. Like, I guess, if we really think about it, like, yeah, he sings, he's kind of evil, he wears his little top hat, and he plays his guitar. And I guess, like, yeah, on any other character, I guess I could maybe see how that could be attractive, sort of. But the fucking Onceler? Like...
That's why it's so good, right? It's because it's so fucking bonkers. It's a Dr. Seuss book!
But we're not even talking about whether it's good. Aaron, when you look at Twink Monopoly, when you look at that little fucking green bean in a top hat, do you find it sexy?
Not at all. He looks like a kid from my high school that would want to cheat off my math homework, but like...
He looks like he has a fucking internship on Wall Street after the movie's done shooting.
Yeah, no, 100%, but like, I think it's so funny that this is the guy. Like, this is one cest, right? Like, shipping the Onceler with himself because there's no other characters unless you want him to fuck the Lorax, which is really, really good, and whoever out there is shipping the Onceler with the Lorax is braver than any United States Marine. So
no, that's 100% correct.
That's really good.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate the fervor of the Onceler fandom, but I will say I am at odds with you. I disagree. I don't understand. I'm happy for you. I think you guys should continue making wild, sub-Oncelers that fuck each other. I think that's very good. But, like, I'm happy being a passive observer and fully not understanding any of it at all whatsoever. So I would like to say the Onceler not hot.
We'll have to agree to disagree. Let's
No,
talk.
okay, in our opinion, I'm not talking about whether or not you find it funny that other people think he's hot. When you look at that twink, do you go, yeah, I get it?
Listen. 2012 was a difficult time for the United States of America. Macklemore was ascendant.
I hate you.
Listen, what else was happening in 2012? I don't remember. I was depressed and a senior in high school. But like, I see why people think he's attractive, because young teenagers are horny and they love skinny white men.
But
and like,
do you find him attractive?
No, in no way.
Okay, then not hot. Moving on.
Okay, sure, whatever.
Filth?
Like, oh, daddy, I used my wish to wish for your happiness, aka you need to get married. And like, even at the end where, she's on TV giving the speech and Avi's just like, hey, Dad, I know you were into that girl. Did you tell her? And he's like, well, no, I guess I didn't. And she's like, you fucking idiot. You complete moron. You hitch up that one-horse open sleigh right now. We are going down to the resort. I'm not going to spend another Christmas motherless. Do you hear me? Like, extremely funny.
That was truly the vibe. She is determined to get a mom.
She and Alejandra, unfortunately.
Okay, Alejandra, talk about a star of this film. Tad, absolutely. But when Tad's not on screen, you know who is? Alejandra. And I love every moment. She is tearful. She is motherly. She bought Lindsay Lohan a fuck me dress. Or sorry, a Freakum dress. Beyonce, I should have used your word first. Mm-hmm. She bought Lindsay Lohan a Freakum dress.
Yeah, she's like, listen, my son-in-law, after my daughter passed, my son-in-law has been very sad. And he's been having a little bit of a dry spell, if we're being honest. And it's making him a little moody. Could you help him out? Could you help a brother out for a second?
Yeah, and she buys Lindsay Lohan this, like, hot red scalloped mini dress, which, like, when I saw, I was like, I kind of want a hot red scalloped mini dress. But then I realized I'm a homebody that doesn't go anywhere, so I don't, like, where would I wear it? I just bought a black mini dress, and it's sitting in my closet, so... You know what I mean? But she looked great. And Alejandra, like, I feel like at every turn, there's an alternate cut of this movie where Alejandra is just keeping track of Sarah's movements and is just, like, positioning herself to be, like, emotionally vulnerable. Because Sarah walks in on her looking through that memory book.
Right,
like, I could see this
is entirely staged, right?
Yeah.
If we had seen that shot 5 minutes earlier, she'd be, like, checking her phone and be like, okay, let me just open to the right page and let me get the eye drops in and go, oh, mija, I'm so sorry. I just, since my daughter passed, like.
Well, they sit there and she's like, Lindsay Lohan's like, oh my God, your daughter was so beautiful. Alejandra grabs her face and it's like, you're beautiful.
So funny, like extremely, like, this is extremely like immigrant mom vibes. Like,
yeah.
there isn't a type of like mom who is like this. And I love it. Alejandra's great.
I think you and I both have one.
My mom is thankfully a little more cloaked about it, but still.
Oh yeah, mine. Yeah, same. Mine's cloaked, but when it comes out, it really fucking comes out. You know what I mean? At dinner, Topher Grace and Anne Hathaway get into a fight when Topher Grace learns she's been ditching him to work a phone sex line. He's just a little guy from Indiana. This is overwhelming him. And he fucks off on the street, basically.
I don't like the portrayal of how people from Indiana are a bunch of fucking idiot losers like Topher Grace.
He is from Muncie, which you seem to have some beef.
He is from Muncie, which, listen, you can't... He has an IU, like, pennant or flag on his like, room, but he's from Muncie, which means that he actually probably went to Ball State and just wanted a better basketball team.
Ball
and
State?
You know what?
Sent me so many flyers when I was applying for school. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Ball State want to be bad.
Listen, you're too good for Ball State.
Thank you.
Listen, if you're an alum of Ball State, I'm sorry to dunk on your alma mater. If it's any consolation, I also hate IU, and I graduated from there. So
yeah, I hate RIT, and I graduated from there. So you're in good company.
Academia, woo!
Woo!
Keep in mind, there's Alaskan vampires here. One of them has the power of taser. But basically, Jacob actually takes off when he gets the invitation. He gets really upset and disappears into the woods. But Edward tracked him down somehow. And Jacob comes to their reception and is able to say goodbye one last time. And they start talking about the honeymoon. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not going to change during the honeymoon because, the vampiric process is very painful. So yeah, I'm going to be a human while we go on our honeymoon. And he's like, wait, they don't ever say the word fuck, but he's like, oh, you're going to fuck while he's a vampire and you're a human. And she's like, yeah, why? And he's like, that'll kill you, dog. And she's like, no, it won't. It'll be fine. And it's very funny that that's the conflict. But anyway, Jacob's like, whatever, fuck you all. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
He sure would like to fuck them all.
Yeah, I bet that's true. Check out my fanfic. That's on archiveofourown.biz. Anyway, the reception ends, and Bella is taken on a surprise honeymoon. Hey, another wedding planning tip. You do have to tell your partner where you're going on your honeymoon. It's real bad. Furthermore, don't surprise your partner by going to the city where you hid for a year while you were trying to break up with them. They go to Rio de Janeiro, the place that Edward canonically was hiding in New Moon because he tried to dump Bella. But then when he learned that Bella, quote unquote, had died, he tries to kill himself after, I don't know. He goes to Italy to kill himself, which is very stupid, but whatever. Anyway, bad timing all around. It's a wild choice, but they're not actually staying in Rio. They're going to the private island. It's Isle Esme, right? It's named after the mom. Mm-hmm. And they have their private house there, and it's great. And we get the sex scene. We finally get a Twilight sex scene. I'm not a connoisseur of sex scenes or anything. I thought it was extremely restrained.
It's a book written by a Mormon lady in which vampirism is kind of an allegory for virginity. The whole thing is you shouldn't fuck till you're married. That's kind of the whole point of the books. So naturally the sex is very normie, very gentle, very restrained. Yes, a bed gets broken, but during the... Listen, not to be blue, but the gentlest, slowest thrusting ever put on screen. And then a couple days into their fuckfest, Edward shows Bella that she has bruise fingerprints on her. Fellas, listen, I've read a lot of fanfiction in my time. Okay. Let me tell you.
I've not approved anything my co-host is about to say. I just want that to be straight.
Okay,
whatever happens.
there is a plurality of people out there who would find getting a little banged up during sex pretty hot. There are also people who are paper white like Bella that bruise easier than you think they might. Just to have Edward treating some light bruising as spousal abuse when I know for a fact that that's a feature, not a bug, for a lot of people is very funny to observe.
Yes, right. Like this, which is like the level, like the 101 kink zone, right, is like so terrifying.
It's not even a kink.
Right.
The most normal live, laugh, love housewife who has a subscription to HBO would get a couple of glasses in her and could tell you she'd like to get tossed around in bed a little bit more. Okay, that is the level we're operating at. This has not even entered the kink zone. So. The character arc of Ginger and Rocky, part of that is Ginger learning that being this like self-flagellating, hard truth, only reality kind of leader doesn't work. And the other half of that is Rocky learning that only telling people what they want to hear and never doing anything scary or difficult ever in his life is also not the way to go. And they meet in the middle, which is a very weird and nuanced and atypical character arc for two protagonists from children's movies to go through.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting exercise in storytelling. I think this still does like pretty standard children's film like storytelling, which is like there's a romance arc. They obviously get together in the end. Like, it's a little bit boring and pat, but like, I do think that this is like, it is at least trying something, and like the character isn't like, oh, you have to learn to believe in yourself. It's like, hey, you're too hard on yourself and others, and maybe you need to chill a little bit. And like, you know, that's certainly a lesson I think the hosts of this podcast could internalize a little bit more as time goes on.
Anyway, moving on. So if you don't have a marketing minute, I do have one.
Okay, yes, please.
So, if you were to give this kind of like gritty, bonkers parallel universe treatment to any like classic game that doesn't have much of a plot normally, what do you think you'd go for? I'd go Frogger.
Yes,
I'd go Frogger Naruto crossover.
Okay, let me make sure that this is the right one that I'm thinking of. Yes. Okay, we're going to watch this together. This is a YouTube video that came out 12 years ago. It's called Pokemon, a Pokélips live action trailer. I'm going to share this, and we're going to, we'll drop this in the show notes, but I'm going to share my screen. We're going to watch this together.
Okay, we'll be back after this fucking video, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Man, that trailer, I hadn't watched that trailer in 12 years. That was a little bit more intense than I remember, but that's my answer.
Okay, so what we just watched was a gritty live action with just shocking production value, I think, trailer for like, what if Ash Ketchum and Pikachu were in some like underground Pokemon fighting ring? And it was basically like a gritty mafia. There were guns. There were so many guns.
Give Team Rocket more guns, is what I'm saying.
Give me Alf like a semi-automatic. What are we doing?
Yes, so that's Pokemon, a Pokélips. You can find that on the Mega Steakman YouTube channel. But I remember seeing this in like 2010. This was back when Dorkly, which was I think a College Humor like spin-off website I used to read a lot. That was like my first games news website. But I remember reading that on that website and watching this and being like, whoa, this is cool. And that has just been in the back of my brain. And, you know, obviously Detective Pikachu came out and had like some of that, but not quite the intensity. And so my answer to your question is I would just, you know, make that movie, because I think we need the grittiest possible Pokemon imaginable.
Okay, awesome.
You've seen those, like, there's this one game going around that's just like Pokemon, but they just have guns, right? Have you heard of this?
Fucking what?
Oh my god, I'm gonna drop another fucking trailer. Oh my Christ, Layla. This is Pal World Gameplay Moments trailer 22.5 from Pocket Pair. I'm gonna show this to man. I am just showing you the most cursed Pokemon content today, huh?
Yeah.
This is Pal World.
Why are there guns?
It is literally, truly just a Pokemon game with guns. Oh, that has a minigun. Excellent, great. That is Pal World, which I believe has been released. It may be in early access, but
why does it have guns?
That's a real game you can play now.
Okay, fascinating. Well,
sure is something.
I don't know if you caught what I said at the beginning, but I would do a Frogger x Naruto crossover. Because there is in Naruto the frog dimension.
There is the frog dimension. Okay.
So I think that a great run, like a movie or like a great run of filler you could do, is just the grittiest noir of trying to get some sort of frog from the frog dimension across the frog road, I suppose.
Across the road, yes. And it's very much like Gamabunta is like, bequeathing a young frog his sword, and like they have to like split cars in half and shit. Yeah, no, that would be great. That would see, the thing about Naruto filler is that it's notoriously bad, but it could fucking own.
It could fucking own if they'd let me do it.
So I want to talk about why this game is so important and like kind of try to get listeners to think about, I don't know how many people listen to our podcast. I don't know how
30.
many people. Oh shit. Wow. That's way more than I thought.
Yeah. Hey,
thanks.
Welcome guys. Thanks for slowly over every year we get 10.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Well, I don't know how many of all 30 of you, were like plugged into the gaming scene in 2013, but I kind of want to like, so I don't know how much research you've done, Layla, but I've got some stats up. Layla, what do you think the best-selling video game of 2013 was? Just off the dome.
I don't know what came out in was it a Call of Duty?
Close. So number 2 is Call of Duty Ghosts, a game that no one has ever thought about after 2013.
Nope. There's too many of them.
I'll tell you, the best-selling game of 2013 is probably still best-selling. It might be one of the best-selling. It's actually, I know this because I looked this up. It's the second best-selling like console game of all time, next to Minecraft. So it's not Minecraft.
Sims?
No.
Is it a shooter? I don't know.
It is
shooters.
a shooter. It is a third-person shooter.
Okay.
It's Grand Theft Auto 5.
You should have said Rockstar. I would have gotten it if you said Rockstar.
I didn't want to give that'll give it away though.
Okay, fair enough, King.
And like the fact that like Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that like is still pumping out money for Rockstar 10 years later, like a thing that like they just don't want to make more Grand Theft Autos because like eventually it is more profitable for Rockstar to just keep pumping up the multiplayer for 5 than to like make a new Grand Theft Auto. That might not be 100% true, but there's a reason there's like 10-year gap between this game and 6. But and like that is the kind of ecosystem. The top 5 best-selling games in 2013 were Grand Theft Auto 5, Call of Duty Ghosts, FIFA 2014, Battlefield 4, and Pokemon X and Y. Which like, if you think about video games, right, those are video game-ass video games. It's like, well, you got the Grand Theft Auto, which is a murder simulator, right? It gives you the ability to murder people for fun, in inventive ways, and that's not a knock. I played Grand Theft Auto in 2013, and I played it for a long, long time. There's Call of Duty Ghosts, right? Obviously part of the shooter genre, the long-standing shooter, or most profitable shooter, of the last 10 years, right? There's a soccer simulator. There's fucking Battlefield, because who the fuck knows? And Pokemon, right? Like, and when you think about the verbs of those games, the things that they're asking you to do, it's like, shoot, drive, score, war crimes, capture Pokemon, right? Like, Gone Home is so fundamentally different from all of those in the ways in which it wants you to interact with the world that, like, it really was, like, a novel thing.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like, it's just one of those things where I don't know what kind of person I would have been if I, like, had found this at the time, you know? Like, because now, again, you play so many walking simulators. There's a title for it now, right? A name for the genre of walking simulator. Right. You have things like Edith Finch. You have things like Journey and Abzu and Kentucky Route Zero. Like, there's so many now. And so playing this, it's like a fun look back into the past and like what kicked all this off, but you know, it's like learning a Snapple fact.
Right, 100%. Right, it's like, oh, that's kind of nice.
That's neat.
And
which
like,
is not to discount the impact of this.
No.
It's just like the experience of playing it 10 years after intended, right? Like, it's another artifact of its time.
Right. And I think to also help put in context, like, why it was important for a game to, like, you know, get a lot of, like, accolades, right, like this, was because, you know, one of the very first, you know, games that got big that had, you know, a queer storyline in it, you know, and, like, you to put that in context, right, the big story game...
Well, that's incorrect. That's Metal Gear Solid.
Okay, well, listen. Love can bloom on the battlefield, but... this one was very more explicit about its homosexual stories, but I want to say, like, right, so the big quote-unquote story art game of 2013 was actually probably The Last of Us, right? And, like, if you think about the ways in which the Last of Us franchise has gone fully into, you know, being like, oh yeah, this is a story about queer people now, and like, when that was certainly not the case in 2013. Right, when we get, you know, Last of Us 2 is about, you know, two queer girls getting together, and even in the Last of Us TV show, right, there's the famous, you know, episode, at least when it was airing, that everybody's like, oh, this is a story about two gay men. You know, I haven't seen it, I'm sure it's good. But like,
Nick Offerman is in it.
Right, exactly. And it's just like, I can't believe that, like, you know, this story, like, must have been so important for people 10 years ago, and like, it's kind of nice that now it's just kind of like, this is boring, because I think, like, that's kind of the mark of, like, when you have a genre has made it. Like, obviously there are still chuds and homophobes out there who are like, you know, I don't want any of these politics or gay people in my video games, but there's you know, it's just kind of nice to be like, yes, finally we get so many of these stories that they're passé. Mm-hmm. Layla, you have just put on a pair of sunglasses that makes you look like the leader of the Squirtle Squad. Is that relevant to the story at all?
No, I just... Do you ever let the intrusive thoughts win?
Oh no. What?
I had an impulse to put them on. I don't know how to tell you this anyway, but I do think it sets the mood for what I'm about to say.
Sure, which is
interesting. I just want to, like, take a second. I don't think we've ever talked about this stupid argument of, like, people being like, oh, I don't want politics in my video games. Here's the problem. All art is political. Games are art, and they are art primarily because they are made by people. If a work is made by a human being, it therefore carries the worldview of that human being. Maybe not intentionally, maybe not, you know, like, explicitly, but at the very least, it says, hey, here's what I find fun. Here's what I find compelling. And then you as an audience member get to react to that. The other thing is that everyone has biases. And unfortunately, when you are an oppressed person or a person in the minority of some group, even if your day-to-day is fine, your existence becomes political, whether you like it or not, because other people have made it so. I don't want to be politics. I don't like it. I'm just a little guy. I was born and put on this earth to eat berries and vibe, and no one will fucking let me do that. Because someone else decided that the way I am or the way I live is incorrect based on arbitrary fucking guidelines I did not have a say in. So all art is politics. And if I hear somebody being like, "Oh, I don't want this political woke horseshit," your games have always had politics. It's just politics you agree with, so you never noticed it.
Right. If you think Grand Theft Auto 5 doesn't have politics, you're out of your fucking mind. That
You're
game
out
is
of your gourd, dude.
extraordinarily political.
Your board has been left fucking behind if you don't think... Or MGS that I brought up earlier?
Hideo Kojima is the most political game designer, like, that is well known on the planet.
Just because it's Japanese politics and you're not fucking picking up on it, I really do look like a member of the Squirtle Squad.
Yeah, you really do.
I'll take a picture and post it on Twitter later.
It's really good.
They're great glasses. But anyway, so, listen, I don't think anyone who listens to this podcast has that opinion.
No.
Because we are who we are. But if anyone else around you tells you that horse shit, I have just given you ammo. Go forth, fight the good fight. I have been in a, my mother and I, in our native tongue, called it a depression psychique, which loosely translates to like a psychodepressive episode, basically, but it has like a comical tilt to it. I've really been trying to, as I'm like recovering from deep burnout, reconnect with the things that I really, really loved and the things that made me want to start drawing in the first place, which in my case is anime and JRPGs. Like, that is why I picked up a pencil when I was a child. So we're currently working my way backwards. I've taken a little pause because I'm prepping for the Breath of the Wild sequel and the Elden Ring DLC and replaying those games. But I'm working my way backwards through the Final Fantasies 10 and back. So I did 10 and 10-2. Next one is 9. And when I 10-2 is the one that changed my brain chemistry when I was a child. I never got to finish it because I was bad at video games at the time. And actually, this is a fun little anecdote that'll tell you everything you ever need to know about me. But I did so much grinding in 10-2 as a kid that I hit a level cap, and I didn't understand that you could cap. Like, that didn't cross my mind. So I thought my game was broken, and I never finished it. Yeah. It's just grinding dress spheres for hours. So, I realized I played 10-2 with no context, which I really think opened my heart to the concept of being confused by Kingdom Hearts all the time.
Yeah.
I realized I'd never played 10, so I finally played 10 for the first time, and I'm different now.
I cannot believe that you played Final Fantasy X for the first time in the year of our Lord 2022-2023.
But aren't you glad that I did?
Yeah, no, because it's like... So this is my introduction to Final Fantasy X is very strange. When I was like 11 years old, my parents got the wild idea to host like a foreign exchange student at my house, and this guy Bernie from Germany came over, and he was kind of a dick. He kind of sucked, but he did introduce me to Final Fantasy X, and like I would watch him like play it. And like I just have like a lot of memories because, you know, it's and he like maxed out the game, like got everyone's legendary weapons, like did all this shit, like 100% of it. So like, you know, I watched him play for like, you know, dozens upon dozens, probably over 100 hours. But like I remember watching him play, and like it was just, all of it was so enthralling and captivating. I was just like so entranced by this game that like even though I never actually played it, it really stuck in my head for like years until 10 years later. I, you know, it was in college and I got it, you know, on a whim. I emulated it on my PC, and I loved it so much, and it, like, I remembered how much I cared about it, that on my 21st birthday, I got really drunk and I started singing the hymn of the faith, and my wife, then girlfriend, had to keep locking me in the bathroom because I was just drunkenly singing the hymn of the faith and threatening to throw up. But yeah, no, Final Fantasy X, like, even like today, like, or, you know, not today, but like currently, as I like submit books to be, you know, potentially published to my agent, like, I'm just like, oh, I probably should have just, this Final Fantasy X has more in common with the book that I just wrote than, like, you know, any other one piece of media. And it's just like, it is like almost embarrassing to the degree that this game has like affected me.
Yeah, it's, I mean, like, I played it a month ago, and it was one of those moments for me where I was like, oh, right, this is why I love video games so much. This is, like, this is the point of making a narrative interactive. It's truly enthralling, and she was before her time, and we'll maybe get into why, couple reasons why maybe this game didn't take off the way the rest of the franchise has. We've done some light speculating on this privately that we can revisit.
Yeah, I mean, we can, but like the fact of the matter is, like, I went back and reviewed it. It reviewed very well. It was received very well, but like it just didn't have the same cultural impact as some of its contemporaries, which is a fucking shame.
Yeah, it's like the inverse of James Cameron's Avatar, which is to say it's a really good thing that had no cultural
Yes,
impact.
exactly. Thank you for sending me all the full store shelves full of Avatar toys that no child will touch with a 10-foot whale bone.
You are so welcome. Yeah, we were palling around in GameStop, and every store you go into, I swear to God, there's just so much Avatar merch that's sitting on the shelf. There's this, Breath of the Wild is actually a really good example of this too, but there's this way of sequencing endings, that is actually just delicious for interactive narrative, which is to say that your final boss fights are like 3 to 4 phases, but the only phases that are an actual satisfying final test of your skill as a gamer, as a player who has been building on these systems the whole time, because JRPGs expect you to do a lot more preparation than Western games. So like if you play a 6 or 7 JRPGs and then you play like a Western game from the same time period, in the Western title, you're actually going to end up overpowered about halfway through because you're so fucking used to having to grind and do a ton of preparation in the JRPG because there's a huge skill slope, usually around the middle of Act 2, where you're just supposed to know at that point to be like, I need to go to every room and fight every fight. So you're here, you've done all this preparation, and if you've prepared correctly, the fight's not that hard. The Ject fight is the final satisfying conclusion to your gameplay journey. It is the final beat of being like, I did it. The big boss is fucking down. And then you go to the on-rails portion of our evening. You are now inside Sin, and it is time for Yuna to summon all of the Aeons she's fucking fought so hard to get, because they need to get Yu Yevon to possess them, and before he powers up too much to become Sin again, they have to try and kill him. So part 2 is the satisfying ritualistic conclusion to the core gameplay loop that you've been performing, which is the going and the retrieving of the Aeons. You kill them one by one and you say goodbye to the faith. And then part 3 of this fight is fucked up tick-looking motherfucker Yu Yevon, just this dark ball of energy with little legs, comes out, and you give him an on-rails fight with the help of the faith where you cannot die. And what you are fighting in this one fucking moment is this final culmination of this awful repeated cycle, because he knows nothing than the fucking will to survive and the will to keep going. And that has been breaking the world for 1,000 years. And you finally fucking get him. And then you get the most tragic fucking cutscene you've ever watched in your life.
I want to say, like, I'm glad you called it ritualistic, because, like, that process of summoning the faith and, like, cutting them down one by one is, like, it's like a sacrament. It is truly the most Catholic thing, where it's like, here's the reading, here's the response. Here is, you know, the saint, you know, it is truly like the inversion of your entire journey in a way that feels like a religious experience. And like it's an incredible moment, and I just love that. And then you kill God, and God is not that strong, which is very fun. And then it all, you know, then you say goodbye.
You say Yuna starts to send you Yevon, and Oran becomes collateral damage. And then he just tells her to keep going. Ooh, I'm getting emotional just talking about it. He just tells her to keep going because he knows his story is done. And he is the narrative foil to Yu Yevon because Yu Yevon and Seymour and Micah and all those chuckle fucks, they didn't know when to stop. They didn't know when to put the torch down. Oran has seen fucking enough. His journey is over. He is done. His contemporaries are gone. He knows it's done. And he says, keep going. Whoa! It's good.
It's really good. The thing about Oren, though, is that he does end up babysitting Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2, which is, like, very funny to me that, like, after all this trauma, he ends up in hate. He ends up in actual Greek hell.
With another evil
like,
gay uncle.
I cannot rest. Truly the most put upon man in the history of anime.
Absolutely 100%. And then you get fucking Tita starting to disappear.
There's a point where Yuna can't see him anymore, and he's just like, oh my god. Like he like puts his arms around her. She can't tell he's there. And then he just like, I think he jumps off the airship, right?
He walks through her and jumps, but not before he starts leaving, and she goes to tackle him and stop him, and she goes right through him and falls through him. And then he jumps off the airship, and the last you see of him for the moment is him high-fiving Jecht in the far
that's
plane.
Truly, like, that is heaven, right? Is like, you got your dad's approval, and now you're in heaven after killing him.
After killing him.
I don't think I've had a video game give me that experience. Like, I cried harder at Kingdom Hearts 3 when I played it for the first time. Like, but that's all nostalgia. That's all like childhood shit. Like, I think as a narrative experience, like, and in a way that the mechanics support the narrative, right? We just talked about the great way that the boss fights all play out. Like, I don't know that there's been a video game that's hit like that for me, like, since, which is very frustrating because, like, you know, we talk about video games all the time in this podcast. You know, there's a ton of great games out there, but, like, man, they don't make shit like this no more.
That's why RPGs are just so fucking good, though. But I think you bringing up Kingdom Hearts is actually Kingdom Hearts 3, right? There's that moment where I think I really love the way it's evolved with the tech over the last 20 years, because there's a moment where you kind of Keyblade surf, and you have to call, the mechanic is call for help, and you hit triangle, and then you have to keep hitting triangle, and what you're doing is you're flinging all these Keyblades at kind of the big boss that you're fighting, and every Keyblade is assigned a username from somebody else on the network who is, like, also playing Kingdom Hearts 3, so you're calling upon all the Keyblade wielders. It's
actually the top, like, 200 players who did Union Cross. Yes, so it's not people that are online, which would be better. That's what Nier Automata does as well. But yeah, it's just the people who are really into Union Cross.
Well, that's how I read it, and in the moment, felt really good.
I don't want to take that away from you. I'm so sorry. I ruined Kingdom Hearts 3 for you.
No, it's okay. The other game I think gets kind of pretty close to this feeling for me is Breath of the Wild, because it does it like a similar final boss battle sequencing, which is like when you fight Calamity Ganon in the pit. That is, again, the conclusion of your gameplay journey. When you fight Calamity Ganon on the surface, Link pops up, gets a horse. Where'd the horse come from?
Doesn't matter.
I don't care. Doesn't matter. You get Link on his beautiful white horse, if you got the white horse, which I did, because I'm a gamer. And he runs around, and the whole mechanic of the battle is Zelda gives you a big fuck-off OP bow that can't break. She shows you exactly where to shoot, and then there's this, like, gorgeous, dynamic soundtrack that changes with the phase of the battle. And the final phase of the battle is literally Ganon standing there in his big fuck-off beast form, and he shoots a big fuck-off laser. It's super easy to dodge, but what the laser does is it creates an updraft. So Link, while these, like, violins are cycling through aggressively in the background, everything is red and gold. Link flies up, Ganon opens his big eyeball, and you shoot him. Gameplay-wise, super, like, nothing, but with Zelda's narration, the whole, like, Courage does not need to be remembered because it has never been forgotten monologue that she does. That on top of the horse and the wind and the sun and the color, like it is this culmination after you've spent the whole game running around and you see Hyrule Castle almost everywhere you go, because that's how it's laid out at the lowest point of the landscape with everything higher surrounding it. So you're always pointed towards the castle. It's such a satisfying narrative arc, and it's one of those things where like you understand the point of interactive narrative and what the interaction adds to that.
I think I gotta replay Breath of the Wild.
Speaking of sexy scenes, the
Oh,
lead
boy.
up to this race where it's like, first off, I have never heard such a climactic, dramatic rendition of Gasolina, right? It was the trailer song, but what they didn't tell me was that my fucking seat would shake from the bass as we get this, like, slowed down, gritty, fucking Dame más gasolina, like, just the heaviest fucking... I was like, this rules. I think my brother watched me have, like, a physical reaction while I was sitting there, like, ah! But also, this is the scene from the trailer where, like, everybody, like, Dom has half the crowd and Dante has half the crowd, and they'll point their guns at each other. And Dante, like, puts his arms over the guns, and he has this, like, pastel purple nail polish that matches his beautiful silk open-chested blouse. And he just, like, strokes the guns a little bit. Listen, Jason Momoa is one of those people that is objectively attractive, but I am not very attracted to, like, the, like, really big muscle-bound types. Like, it's just not... I'm attracted to men who I think I could take in a fight, basically. That's
your type is birdcore.
Yeah, it is. And he's just, like, stroking those guns, and in that moment I was like, oh my god. I get it. I get it.